I think there is a very serious discussion that needs to be had about the culture of addiction. Um, Not just where I live, but I think all over the world. It's something I've been thinking about recently. I've become conscious of this problem recently, and I'm trying to take some steps to address it. But it's something that I wanted to think out aloud to underlie the issue, so to speak. The first problem is social media. Now, of course, we all said that social media is the problem, but the underlying problem with social media is, um, especially with me, with Instagram, with TikTok, is that it completely prevents you from being conscious. No, I'll emphasize. What happens on Instagram, for example, is that there's so much short form content that we keep watching over and over and over and over again. And I hadn't realized it because I've been using, and I think most of us have been using Instagram and other forms of social media for the last, let's say, 19 years. What happens when we use these things? At the beginning, I didn't realize the effect that it was having on me, but I realize it now. And the effect is that I can't focus on anything. I cannot do anything. I cannot accomplish any task. I cannot read a book. I cannot watch a movie. I cannot watch a TV series. I cannot do anything. Things that I used to enjoy, I cannot do them anymore. I don't know what the hell has become of me, but my attention span has been destroyed completely, and I hadn't even realized it yet. It was the most silent destruction I've ever been through. And looking back at it, I don't think I've been healthy for the last decade, so to speak. I remember when I was a teenager, I grew up in Tajikistan, so we didn't have social media, we didn't have things like this. So every day I would just maybe read a book, I would be outside doing things, and in some sense my life was quiet. My life was quiet, my life was peaceful. But nowadays, when I look at my life now, there's just so much happening in my head. There's just so much happening. There's echoes of these stupid Instagram reels. There's echoes of these TikTok voices. There's echoes of news happening, tariffs. There's just too much. I don't think any of this is healthy. Super unhealthy. There's so much news. We have to worry about everything. There's a global recession. Whatever the hell is going on. Right? You just open YouTube and there's like news. Oh, this guy put these tariffs. These people are losing their jobs. AI is taking over. Future is dystopian. We're all gonna die. Okay, great. What a great way to start my morning. By being fed with information that in some sense has nothing to do with me. I live in Uzbekistan. Why the hell should I care what's happening in the US? Why the hell should I care what's happening in Brazil? What's happening in England? All of this deep down I think is very unhealthy. There is just too much media that we are consuming. And the problem is that we are not even conscious of it. We are not even admitting that this is a problem. At least I haven't done so until quite recently, when I became quite conscious of the fact that I was silently destroying myself, my attention span and everything about me. Right? So I've made the conscious decision to just completely get rid of Instagram. Once and for all, it's done. I mean, it's there, I have the account, but it's logged out. Maybe I'll log in like once a week for like 20 minutes just to see if anyone important has messaged me or not, and that's it. And then on a daily basis, I don't want to get back in there because there's nothing useful. We sit here, we complain. Oh, these tech billionaires are controlling everything. They're getting so much money. But who is allowing them to do these things? We are. The only reason they're billionaires is because of us. Because we, as users, are watching and using their websites, watching the content they create and so on. So I think that short form content, I think, is like completely destroying us. And you notice it too, not just in your own life, but in everybody else's life. Like these days when I talk to people, no, I'm not saying that I'm somehow this insanely deep thinker. I'm not. I've read maybe 2 books in my whole life, and maybe I finished one of them. But when I talk to other people, it is extremely rare to come across anyone who has a somewhat deep layer of thinking. It seems as though everyone is somewhat superficial. Every joke they make is a joke borrowed from Instagram. Every joke they make is a joke borrowed from TikTok. They study books that are popular with everyone. They're following the trend. They dress the same as everybody else dresses. There is no individuality left anymore. And why? Because of social media. We just see what is popular and we follow it, and everyone thinks the same, everyone dresses the same. And that, I think, is a huge problem because, number one, the usage of social media completely breaks down our attention span, right? When your attention span is broken down to such an extent that you cannot do anything long term, you cannot focus for 3 hours to read a book, you cannot focus on 2 hours to watch a lecture. When you reach that level, which I have reached, where I cannot sit here and focus on a 2-hour lecture. I can't, because the attention span is cooked. When you reach that level, then there are certain problems with your personal development. You become more and more unconscious, because to become conscious requires that you hold on to some thread for a long period of time, right? To like form a conscious thought. But if your attention span is breaking down every 30 seconds, then you will not be able to form a conscious thought. Like the moment you try to think of something original, 30 seconds is not enough. It breaks down. And then you're back on your phone, you're checking your phone again just to get that dopamine hit, and then you're back into it. No, it's genuinely terrifying. Some nights I just come here and I scroll on my phone and I see like hours have passed. 1-2 hours have passed, and then what? And it is a battle that somehow people are not recognizing. It's like, imagine an infection has completely destroyed your system, your internal organs, an infection has destroyed it, and somehow your immune system is not responding to it. I think social media is just like that. It's something that's completely destroyed my life. I mean, and I think the lives of everyone else, because a lot of my friends that I talk to, a lot of them do not have a good attention span. You recommend them a book, they will not read it. And I teach students too here, part-time, and when I assign my students books and things like that, there are maybe, and I tell them, hey, read 20 pages, 30 pages, they cannot read it, they don't want to read it. Nobody has that attention span to read 20 pages. If you give them 2 pages, they'll read it. More than that, they won't read it. So it's a genuine epidemic that I think we are not acknowledging, but we should acknowledge, because on the one hand, it's not allowing us to become more and more conscious and to develop ourselves, because we cannot stick with anything. I start a project and then 2 days later I give up. Why? Because there is a huge disbalance in my system. Like things are always up and down. And that leads to the second problem, which is caffeine addiction. I think, at least with me, why do I drink caffeine? Let's address the underlying root of why I drink caffeine. I drink caffeine because I have a meaningless life. My life is genuinely meaningless. And meaningless means different things for different people. Some people's lives are meaningless because they don't have any friends. Some people's lives are meaningless because they don't have any money. For me, my life is meaningless to some extent, partly because there is nothing in it that is super meaningful. And I don't mean it by the people. I don't mean that the people are not meaningful or anything like this. No, there are people in my life that are meaningful, but there is no underlying journey that I'm going through. I think for my life to be meaningful, I need to be moving from point A to point B, and from point B to point C. There needs to be some sort of a value hierarchy. and I need to be working towards something, and I need to be enjoying it, and that thing doesn't exist anymore. That spine doesn't exist. And because of that, I drink caffeine, and when I drink caffeine, the blood pressure goes up, and I get super reflective, and I start reflecting on things. Maybe I start reading philosophy. So then I start enjoying these things that I used to enjoy, and because of that, I became addicted to coffee. But one thing that I haven't realized over the years is that any thought that you have while you're high on caffeine, those are not your thoughts. Any emotions that you feel while you're high on caffeine are not your emotions. All of that is just dopamine talk. While you're high on caffeine, you may think, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, and then once the caffeine runs out, then what? Then you don't have any motivation to do it anymore. So it's not like your state is more or less the same. You're always like jumping up and down, up and down, up and down, and then after caffeine runs out, you'll have a crash, then you're always tired, which is a huge issue, I think. And the usage of caffeine is so normalized in our society that you would think that, there's nothing wrong with drinking coffee every day, but I think for someone like me, there is a huge problem, because it completely destroyed my ability to focus on anything. Because while you drink coffee, you're super motivated, you're willing to do something, and then 2 hours later you'll have a crash, and then you don't want to do anything anymore, because then you're super tired. So caffeine is like borrowing energy from the future and then using it today, but then in the future you'll pay for it. So, and that caffeine abuse, and generally substance abuse, is related, I think, somewhat to abusing social media, because once you're high on caffeine, you're super conscious, yes. But then once caffeine runs out, then you'll be super unconscious. You'll be even lower in terms of unconsciousness than you were usually. You'll be super unconscious because you're super tired. So then what do you do when you're super unconscious? Then you go back to social media. Then you don't have the conscious power to fight off social media anymore. So then you go to social media, you start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then hours and hours have passed, and what happened to you? What happened to your goals? What happened to your dreams? What happened to working on yourself? What happened to all of that? And it is sad to say that this is a problem that I've only just recognized. I mean, I've had lingering thoughts about it for the longest time, but I've never really made a conscious decision. Like I'd say, yeah, I'll do it, but then I wasn't really determined to do it. But I think it is an extremely, extremely dangerous activity, I think. Scrolling on these social media websites. And I think as a generation, this generation that is so addicted to social media, I think as a generation, we need to completely move on from it. Because if we keep using it, then we will forever remain unconscious. I think becoming more and more conscious will be difficult because you do not have the attention span to do anything that takes more than 30 seconds. And then as a result, it will be hard to grow. If you're not growing, you will not have a meaningful life. And then I think from there is only one way. You're going down. I don't think there's any going up from there. I have YouTube. I wanted to delete YouTube too. I didn't. I don't use it much. There's like 1, 2, 3 creators that sometimes I listen to them. And then I mostly use it to listen to music. But that's it. I think that's like the only social media I'll keep. Everything else I think I'll delete or like deactivate it. If I need some friends from there, I'll go and message them. But otherwise, I think it's best to just completely deactivate all of it. Pure poison. It's just pure poison. it's killing us, all of us. It's killing us, and then we're not doing anything about it. And even YouTube too. It's like sometimes I wake up, since I don't have Instagram anymore or TikTok or these things, so then I go to YouTube. Then suddenly you're just hit with like 10,000 different news. This thing happened in UK, this thing happened in US, this thing happened in Brazil, Chinese doing this. Like, why the hell do I care about all of that? Why do I care about all of that? Why should someone living in Brazil care about something that's happening in Africa, for example? You're living in Brazil. Deal with your life there. Why the hell are you caring about something that's happening in Uganda? This is too much. And then we sit here, we worry the world is coming to an end. What I think would be best for my life is to just completely ignore all of that. Ignore the news, global news especially. Ignore all of this social media, cut all of it completely, cut caffeine completely. And I think it will take me maybe 4, 5, 6 months, but I think eventually I will be healthy again, I think. Because I don't think I've been healthy for the last decade. I don't think I've been healthy because I've always been addicted to social media. And at the beginning, I didn't realize that this was sort of destroying us in such a manner, but it's evident now. It's evident now, and it's evident in everyone. You know, we all are going there complaining about vaccines, COVID vaccines, this, that, but this is the real virus. This is the real pandemic that no one talks about. And it's evident because I talk to people and nobody has the attention span to do anything. Do you read books? No. You watch movies? No. Why? Because I watched the first 10 minutes and it was boring. Oh, you cannot focus more than 10 minutes? No, okay. What the hell? There's so much dopamine hitting our brains. There's so much entertainment that's hitting our brains that some long form content like reading a book will not be interesting. And that's happening to me too, because I used to read a lot of books, and nowadays I read the first 10 pages of a book and I don't find it interesting, then I won't read it. But I know that deep down, you have to read more than 10 pages. The author needs to set up first, he needs to set up the environment, he needs to set up sort of the plot, and then it'll get interesting. You cannot expect everything to be super fun within the first 10 minutes. And this sort of quick way of living, this short-term attention span is also affecting the dating life, and you see it in dating apps too, where you talk to people, you go on some dates, and maybe if the person is not interesting within the first date, then you'll just ghost them. So like, I think it's just killing everything. Completely destroying our health, making us zombies. I think we are becoming zombies very slowly, becoming deeply unconscious. We are becoming deeply, deeply unconscious. How I know that? Because there's no individuality left anymore. No individuality left. Just go to any public place and you see everyone is dressed the same, everyone is, especially where I live, everyone has the same haircut, everyone dresses the same, everyone has the same jokes, everyone reads the same books, everyone thinks the same thoughts, everyone believes the same beliefs. It's like Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, like everyone's just a copy of another. Why is that? Social media. No one is, or I would say very few people are courageous enough to just say no to all of that and then be themselves. Like the other day I was sitting in my work and some guys came and they were like, is your hair naturally curly or do you like go to a hair person? And I said, well, it's just how it is. Why would I pay somebody to make this hair like this? It's just curly like naturally. And then one of them said, oh, why don't you straighten it? And like, just imagine the thinking. Because everyone in this town, I live in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, every guy here has the same haircut, which is like straightened, like apparently it looks formal, whatever. And he had the audacity to suggest to me, he's like, why don't you do it like that? Like, God forbid that a person wants to be different. 99% of you have the same haircut. What, you want me to have the same haircut too? Like, I don't understand the thinking. If you are not like the rest of the 99%, then somehow there's something wrong with you. And that's the mentality that I'm talking about. I think it's okay to be different. It's okay to be yourself, and if other people don't like it, then so be it. I feel suffocated when you go around and everyone just looks like everybody else. Then where's the individuality anymore? And that, I think, is a result of people not being conscious enough to be themselves. Because individuation, let's remember Jung's theories, individuation is a conscious act. It's a painful act done consciously, through which you carve your own individual self out of the unconscious. You don't individuate, so to speak, by just scrolling on social media. And this happened at a job interview too. I went to a job interview and the guy said the same thing. The HR manager looked at him and he was like, why don't you comb your hair and look like a normal person? No, I know the hair is too much, maybe, I know. But pay attention to the problem. The problem is, why don't you look like everybody else? There is something different. You don't look professional, maybe the curly hair girl looks weird. Why don't you look like the rest of the slaves? If everyone's a soldier, everyone's a slave. Why don't you look like the rest of them? Why are you like different? Why do you dress differently? Why do you look differently? One person even told me, why do you have a beard? Shave it, he said. Everyone here shaves their beard, you shave it too. And that's exactly the problem. But it's something that I have been thinking about recently, that I think we are living through a huge pandemic of not so much social media, but a crisis of addiction, I would say. Addiction on coffee, addiction on other substances, addiction to short form entertainment. We are addicted to attention from others. And I think all of that is extremely unhealthy. I don't know where we are going with all this 10 years from now. If our attention span is cooked this much right now, what will happen 10 years from now if you keep going down this road? You know, I think if you use social media, if your attention span is cooked and you're always on social media, then I think you have no right to complain about being a slave. You have no right to complain about people controlling your opinion. You have no right about billionaires getting even more rich, because you're directly contributing to it. You are a slave to the system. They are using your attention to get richer. And what do you get in return? You get nothing. So I think that is something that one needs to reflect on it, I think, and one has to be strong enough to move away from it, because there are some good things from social media, but the dangers that come from it, and especially with the attention span, with making us more unconscious, because once your attention span is cooked, then you cannot do anything else. That's the real issue. You cannot do anything else. Because to do anything else requires a strong attention span. To read a book requires that you have a good attention span. To start any project requires that you have a good attention span. To try to learn something new, like programming language or something, requires attention span that is longer than 30 seconds. And if you don't have that attention span, then you cannot do anything. You cannot work on yourself, you cannot improve yourself, you cannot read a book, you cannot become better educated. All you will do is keep using social media, keep consuming the content that they throw at you, And as a result, you'll be a zombie, you'll be a slave, you will continue consuming the content that they throw at you, you will keep giving them your attention, and so the influencers will become even richer, the tech giants will become even richer, they'll control your opinion, they'll control your thoughts, and as a result, they will control you. And what do you get in return? Nothing. You'll get a big, this from the employers who will replace you with AI, and then one day you'll be 40 years old and you'll wake up and you're like, oh, where has the last 20 years gone? I used it scrolling on social media and nothing has become of me now. So this is a genuine, I think with me at least, this is a genuine concern to be had, that we are spending all of our life digitally and not much is happening in the real life. And of course, there is a reason why this is happening. People have a meaningless life. Because of that, social media offers so much entertainment that you're like, oh, what would I do without social media? My life is boring. What should I just sit at home and consume social media? Well, if that's your thinking, then do it. But with me, I think I want to get back to reading books. I want to get back to reading literature, to reading psychoanalysis, to reading Jung, to reading these thinkers that I care about so much. I want to get back to learning maybe more mathematics, do some more projects, work on myself, get a consistent gym schedule. I think there's so much we can do to improve our lives. But that cannot be done. That cannot be done with an attention span that lasts 30 seconds. It cannot be done with that attention span. We need to have a much, much longer attention span. And you cannot have an attention span that is long unless you cut out social media completely. That's what I think. And if you want to cut out YouTube too, cut it out. Yeah, unsubscribe from my channel, everyone's channel, cut it out. If you're living in UK, you shouldn't worry about what's happening in Russia or what's happening in Brazil. Just live your life. None of this global news really affects you deep down. None of this affects you. Yeah, there's all this talk, but there have been talking for the last 50 years. If something big enough happens that affects you, you'll hear about it anyhow. That's what I think. I think this is a challenge to our generation. And I think to overcome this challenge, we need to be more conscious. We need to be more conscious than we have ever been before, because we are being attacked by something that we have not quite identified it as a threat. It's a bit like HIV. If the immune system identifies it as a threat, then it will kill it immediately. But we're not identifying this as a threat, and we need to. Because I have personally come to the conclusion, and you don't need to be a genius to come to this conclusion. You just need to be conscious. You need to have one drop of consciousness to come to this conclusion. That social media is completely destroying who I am. And that starts with destroying my attention span and destroying my dopamine levels. Social media and coffee, they've destroyed my dopamine levels completely. I mean, look at my face. I look like an alcoholic single father of 5 who has been through 3 wars and made it out alive somehow. Why? Because of social media and coffee. Dopamine levels are like up and down, up and down, up and down, and everything is cooked. But I needed to say all of this out aloud, at least for myself, to really, really understand and make sure that this really is a problem. Because as long as a problem roams around under the radar of your consciousness, then you're not going to deal with it. You need to catch it, you need to talk about it, you need to write it down, and you need to admit that this is a problem. And this is a threat, and it's ruining your life. And I think it's not just ruining my life, I think it's ruining the lives of a lot of people. Because a lot of people that I talk to, their attention span is cooked as much as mine. At least I try to read something every now and then. But a lot of people that I talk to, they don't even read anything. They're always just scrolling. And what do you get out of that? Same jokes, same humor, same thinking, same things happening. Like you look at streamers now in the US, what new things do they offer? Nothing. Living in a fake world while your life and your house is burning down completely. Then one day you wake up and there is nothing left in your life anymore because you haven't done anything to your life to make it meaningful, to grow. All you've done is sell your attention to these people for free. And you might say, well, isn't that what you're doing? You might ask me that. Isn't that what you're doing? You're creating videos. If you agree with what I'm saying, if you agree that this is a problem, then go ahead, delete YouTube too. The reason why I haven't deleted YouTube because I think there is still some things that I benefit from YouTube, and I don't watch YouTube Shorts, so I don't think I will be affected by that. My attention span will be affected by that much. But even YouTube, I don't open that much. Maybe if I listen to some music or like some creators I listen to, but their videos are usually long form. But that's it. But even YouTube, I think down the road should be deleted completely. I think. But I will keep these videos, at least in the future. I may look back at them myself. I have maybe 1-2 people who actually watch these videos. So like, these are maybe mostly for my own self. So that 10 years from now, I look back at myself. I look back at my own thinking and how much I've changed. I think this will be good for me. And if anyone cares to follow this, they can follow. If not, then that's fine. But it's a real pandemic. It's a real issue that needs to be dealt with. And so we'll see. I've decided to cut everything out, so maybe I'll report back in like a month or something to see if I feel any better.